up in the remote highlands of northern Thailand. Far from the tourist trails and big cities, there's a quiet revolution happening. And it's not about politics. It's about education. It's a complete reimagining of what it means to teach and to learn.
So let's get right into it. What we're talking about here is a fundamental shift in these small mountain communities. They're moving away from a one-size-fits-all model of schooling to something that's deeply, and I mean deeply, connected to their land, their culture, and their real lives.
And really, this entire story boils down to answering two powerful questions. How should we learn, and how should we teach? For these communities, the old answers just weren't cutting it. So they decided to find new ones, and that's the journey we're going to explore.
To really appreciate their solution, though, we first have to understand the huge challenges they're up against every single day.
I mean, think about it, right? A standard school curriculum is usually designed with a city or suburb in mind. But if you're a kid growing up here, that kind of learning can feel like it's from another planet. It's just totally disconnected from your world.
And check this out. This is what makes it so complex. We're not talking about one single group of people. Look at these numbers. We've got hundreds of thousands of individuals from so many different ethnic groups, like the Karen and the Hmong, each with its own language, its own culture, its own traditions. So how could one curriculum possibly serve them all? The short answer is, it can't.
And then you layer these profound, real-world hurdles on top of all that cultural diversity. When families are struggling with poverty, or there are no good roads, or the environment is at risk, education, unfortunately, can sometimes take a back seat. The system had to be about more than just books. It had to be about life.
So what did they do? How do you tackle a problem that big? Well, they built an entirely new model of learning from the ground up, one that was designed by the community for the community.
And the answer started with these incredible places called the Mae Sot Community Learning Centers. That name carries a real legacy of development in this region, and these centers became the absolute heart of this new approach to education.
And this model here perfectly captures their philosophy. Now it's in Thai, but you don't need to read the words to get the big idea. See how everything flows from the community in the center? The people, the culture, the problems, the local wisdom. That's the starting point. Those are the inputs that shape everything else. It's brilliant.
And here's how that process actually works. It's a simple but really powerful three-step flow. First, you analyze the context. You look at what's really going on in the village. Is there a problem with the water? Is a traditional craft disappearing? Step 2, you integrate fundamental knowledge, science, math, whatever, to tackle that specific local issue. And finally, the ultimate goal is to empower students with skills that make them and their whole community stronger and more self-reliant.
Now, to make all this happen, they use two really key hands-on methods. You've got problem-based learning, which is all about fixing something that's already there, like, say, figuring out a better way to irrigate crops. Then you have project-based learning, which is about creating something totally new, maybe building a small bridge or launching a local recycling program. Both of these make learning real, tangible, and super useful right away.
This all sounds incredible, right? A total game changer. But it brings up a massive new question, a huge new challenge.
Exactly. If you have a revolutionary way to learn, you need a revolutionary way to teach. You can't just take a teacher trained in a traditional system, drop them in here, and expect it to all work out. You need a totally new kind of educator.
So, this meant that Thailand's education leaders had to build a system not just for the students, but for the teachers who would be their guides.
And what they came up with is what's called an area-based teacher competency framework. Now, the magic words here are area-based. It means that just like the learning for the kids, the training for the teachers has to be rooted in the specific context and the real needs of that region.
This whole framework is built on three core pillars. It's not just about what a teacher knows, it's about what they can do. They need to be amazing at learning management, they need to be expert coaches, and they have to be really thoughtful evaluators. Let's break those down real quick.
So first up is learning management. This is basically the art and science of designing an educational journey that actually connects with who each student is. It's about being flexible and creative and responding to their interests, not just plowing through a rigid lesson plan.
Second, coaching. And this word choice is so important. The teacher isn't a lecturer standing at the front of the room. They're a coach on the sidelines. Their best tools are asking really good questions and motivating students to find their own answers, to figure things out for themselves.
And finally, assessment and evaluation. In this system, tests aren't just about giving out a grade.
Nope, they're diagnostic tools. The whole point is to figure out exactly where each student is on their path, and then use that information to give them the personalized help they need to grow.
So how do you actually build these skills in teachers? They use this really clever multi-layered system called the Inspire SOS network. The SOS stands for school-based, online-based, and self-development. It gives teachers hands-on training right at their school, connects them to experts and ideas online, and, this is key, it empowers them to go learn about the things they're passionate about.
But of course, the teachers and the schools can't do all this heavy lifting by themselves. The final piece of this amazing puzzle is the entire ecosystem of support that's built around them.
What's so crucial to get here is that this is a massive team effort. You know that saying, it takes a village to raise a child? Well, in this case, it takes a whole network of partners to support this new way of learning. It doesn't happen in a vacuum.
And that network is huge. It's everybody from the local government education offices to the universities that are training the next generation of teachers to subject matter experts to the school principals. And most importantly, the teachers themselves are seen as active partners in their own growth, not just people being told what to do.
And you know, in the end, it all comes back to this one simple, beautiful idea: learning together, creating the community. This whole thing isn't just about building better schools. It's about building stronger, more resilient communities from the inside out, one student, one teacher at a time. It really makes you wonder, what if the purpose of education wasn't just to get smart enough to leave your community for a better life, but to stay and use your knowledge to make life better for everyone?